Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to iTouch Reviewers. In this video, I wanted to talk about security, privacy, and Apple. So recently, the United States, the UK,
England is my city, and if it weren't for Team 10, then the US would be shitty. I'll pass it to chance.
and Australia have been in the news just because the governments here and there requesting a lot of information from Apple, and they basically just want there to be backdoors or secret decryption codes that the governments can use to try to track down terrorists or whatever they call it. So basically what they want to do is limit everyone else's security to track down, 5 people a year that are terrorists in their country. But recently, Apple actually sent some of its top privacy executives to Australia twice in 1 month just to lobby to the government officials basically and ask them to, rethink what they're proposing. And basically what they're proposing is Australia wants either a definite backdoor into, these systems like iCloud for iMessage and stuff, or they want their own decryption key, which obviously can't happen. Apple is not going to make a separate iOS version just for Australia, just for United States, whatever. It's ridiculous. Not going to happen. And if Apple ever did that, I would run so far away from them. It would be crazy. So the only other thing would be to make a backdoor, which is obviously a security hole that anyone should notice. Like, even if you are not a security person, if you think about it, if anyone makes a backdoor for a government to go into, there's going to be a hacker out there that figures out a way into that backdoor, right? So right now, iOS is very closed off. There are no backdoors, supposedly. But if Apple made one, say, for Australia's government, someone's going to find a way in. Someone will find a way in besides the government. I guarantee it. And who's to say that the government's actually good? Based on, what I've read here and what you guys can read for yourselves, I don't know. It sounds kind of shady, especially, the United States sometimes wants to, have backdoors like this. The UK is really bad about it.
England is my city. England is my city. England is my city.
The EU is actually a little bit better. And then Australia is just off the edge here as well, trying to request just exorbitant amounts of data. With iOS 11, in case you guys didn't know, your iMessages are actually going to be in the cloud. Right now, they're not supposedly in the cloud. When they are, it's for like push notifications and stuff. Obviously, they have to go through Apple's servers. But the only way to actually decrypt an iMessage is with the private key on the device. So when you send a text message to someone and it's up in the cloud, supposedly there's no way that Apple could see what that message is. Only the person who's supposed to receive it. And that's called end-to-end encryption, which means completely impossible to read except for the person intended. That's great. However, if you back up your phone to iCloud, all your iMessages are backed up there as well. Those are in plain text, which means, well, they're not in plain text. They're encrypted, but the key is held by Apple. They hold that key. In case you forget your password, you can hit the forgot password button and they can send you a link. They have backdoors into their iCloud. So if the government subpoenas you, as Trump would say,
I want subpoenas.
Right.
They have very powerful subpoenas. So
They have subpoenas.
what I want, and I think it's very important,
and once, to see some of your stuff, they think you're a terrorist, they can ask Apple and Apple can either, comply or not. They usually, I would think they would if they have a very good reason. If the government had a good reason to believe that you're a terrorist, they will let the government into your iCloud account to get the data that they need to prove whether or not you're a terrorist, whatever. That's not really the issue at hand here. But in iOS 11, all your messages are going to be up in the cloud. And so when you sign into a new device, it's going to sync all of your iMessages over to that new device, which sounds really convenient, right? It sounds nice. Not that I would want that. Like if I was on an iPad, chances are that iPad's used possibly by someone else if it's not like something dedicated. Like a lot of people just leave an iPad sitting, on their table, but that's neither here nor there. The point is, it's going to be easy to move your iMessages when you get a new device. Sounds great. I don't like that idea. You can actually turn it off, thank God. With iOS 11, I have it off on my phone. I would recommend that you probably do the same. However, Apple said that they are going to basically do something like they do now with iMessages. They're redoing their encryption, basically so that it's end-to-end fully. They don't have the key. But if Australia has their way in this example here, that would basically require Apple to let them see or get the key for these texts. The only other option might be that, no iPhones with iMessage are allowed to be used in Australia. Like it's like kind of one or the other, if one of them doesn't budge. So hopefully Australia kind of realizes that they're being retarded here, and this is not something that's sustainable for people that use devices and people who are security conscious. I mean, this is just a terrible idea. As you can see, as it happens, Cook's comment only applies to iMessages that aren't backed up to the cloud. Like I said, if they're in the cloud, potentially could be provided to authorities because they do have the keys. But right here, they're working to make everything entirely private. With High Sierra, which I don't actually have right now, and iOS 11, which I do have, can synchronize iMessage across multiple devices using iCloud with new encryption. Keeps the keys out of Apple's hands, which is awesome if it's actually true. But again, governments are not liking this because governments like to be able to see everything. They don't like anyone to have any privacy. It's awful that governments are doing this. It's pretty disgusting, actually. Some people say it's worse than the terrorists. I don't know. It depends what the governments are doing with this shit. Because they could just be data mining you. They could be, you could get thrown in prison for something you say to your friend over text that you didn't think anyone else would see. I mean, there's all kinds of shit that could potentially happen if governments have access like this. So definitely a bad thing, guys. Leave your comments down below. Hopefully I explained it in a decent way. This isn't really an explainer video, but just to kind of give you guys a basic understanding about these encrypted messages. I know security is my background. So I do have a lot of knowledge on it. If you guys want a whole video on that, I can do that later. But this is just a basic one just on this the iCloud changes that Apple's making. Could cause some issues with governments here in the future. So we'll have to see how this pans out. Hopefully the Apple executives will be able to bring the governments to their senses, which is crazy to think that a privately held company like Apple is trying to enforce kind of like citizens' rights, I guess, to their data privacy. It's crazy that governments would try to take that away from people. And that Apple's the one that's fighting for us, which I don't believe in a lot of the stuff, the social stuff that Apple believes in, but this is one thing that I definitely believe in. Everyone deserves their privacy with online and with their accounts, so good on Apple for this. So leave your comments down below on what you guys think about all this, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.
I want subpoenas. They have very powerful subpoenas. Subpoenas. I want that subpoenas.